So guys, for this non-metallic section by here guys, you can use different types of greys. Just for the bog stand, it makes life a lot easier sometimes. I usually go for a dark grey. Dark is better usually, which is like this colour right here. A medium grey, preferably a light grey, and then followed up with a white. But just for this tutorial at the present moment guys, I'm just using a dark grey, a medium grey and white. So obviously it's already been base coated with a dark grey, followed up with a little bit of a wash of black. So I'm going to highlight this area up now guys with some light grey. I'm just doing the edges. I'm just thin it down using my, once again, my thumb as a palette. Just try and keep the bottom area done like so. And this technique is exactly the same as I just been showing you through all the model, keeping the paint nice and wet and trying to blend the colours in. After I've sort of blended the colours in, I might put a bit of a wash over the top of it. Maybe using the what's it called now? Butter black wash. Then highlight it up eventually with a bit of white to make it stand out. Because at least with the wash it sinks in all the recesses. So you don't have to be exact when you're doing something like this guys. Just remember, right on the top of the highlights of the gun you tend to use the white. So as you can see, I'm just doing it like so. Bit of dark grey. Just blend it in back and forth. Obviously on the top of the barrel is going to be the brightest area. So don't know if you can see this guys, what I'm doing by here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to use some Games Workshop Skull White, and I'm going to slowly just touch up the edges, only tiny bits, like so. I'm doing by there, I'm just dry brushing very very gently over this little piece by here. And where did I say that certain high spots are, very very just touch it. And of course the edges of the metal itself, which would be by here. As you can see, I'm using it straight off the pot, and nothing's hardly ever happening at all because the lights are heating the paint on the brush too quick. So you can see by here, it's not much of a brilliant transition by here. You can always go back to a very water consistency of the grey, just to dab it down. But I'm going to wait for this to dry, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a wash of Games Workshop Bada Black over the top of it. Right, I've got the Bada Black by here, guys. Instead of getting a quick wash, I'm just going to just slightly dab it up in the top areas where you would think it's going to create a shadow effect. So, got the paint by here, got it on my thumb. Just going to, as I said before, put it in the areas where I think it's going to create a shadow effect. I can do this basically everything like on top by here now. I do like the colour of this wash. I'm a big, since they released these washes out a few years ago, I'm quite a big fan of these washes. Do like the washes of this colour, Devil Mud, and the purple. The purple I tend to use a lot on for the faces to give a bit of warmth to the face. So, as you can see, guys, now just a bit of the highlight in on top. Of the gun. The next step I will be showing you now is how to paint the glowing eyes. There's plenty of tutorials on YouTube how to paint these ones. I highly recommend Judge Grudge's video tutorial on how to paint glowing eyes. He does exactly the same as how I do it. And wait 1 second. And the other one is, guys, it's Blue War Gaming. He does a fantastic tutorial how to paint glowing eyes. Exactly the same as Judge Grudge's as well, and he does exactly the same as how I do it. But for this case, I'm going to have a go of doing a red glowing eye rather than the standard green glowing eye, which you obviously use different types of greens. Scorpion green is usually involved somewhere, but with this tutorial, so it's going to be an experiment for you and an experiment for me as well, guys. I'm going to do a red eye and I'm going to try to make that sort of glowing. So it's going to be a new thing for both of us. And what I want to try to do this time, I'm not going to try to use any oranges or yellows, just going to use red and white. So I'm going to paint the main lens at the present moment blood red. It's nothing worse, as all of us know, is painting eyes. I've never ever been happy how I paint my lenses of my Space Marines. It's one of my least favourite parts to do. And what's worse than painting lenses Well, I'll tell you what's worse. Worst thing is painting lenses with a white helmet and videoing it at the same time. So, as you can see, I'm turning it around. Bear with my if my hands get in the way. But as you all know, it's just trial and error for this video tutorial at the moment, guys. It's just like an experiment. So once again, I'm using my thumb as a palette. And the next colour I'm going to use is a scab red. Oof, it's a bit thick, that stuff is, but it should work. And I'm just going to paint the back edge of it. I'm going to thin it down a little bit. As you see, I'm sort of like stippling it, like a dotting effect. And what I'm going to do, got some white here. I'm going to mix up a piece of white with a tiny drop of red to make it obviously like a pink colour. I'm going to do this at the front of the eye. So, you ask yourself, where's the glowing part from? Well, the glowing part is just a thin layer of paint, just like a wash. Again, you see how I'm doing here now. It's just a very thin wash, and you just paint it underneath the lens. If you've got a darker helmet, you just need to put more and more layers, gradually, and you build up the layers closer to the eye. Using a little bit of scab red. Once again, I'm just thinning it down with my thumb just to make a thin dark wash. I'm slightly just dabbing it right in the back of the lens, guys, just to give that contrast. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to highlight the middle of the lens now, where they mix of red and white together, which is a thin type of glaze. I'm just rubbing it on my thumb like so now. You see the colour. I'm going to just slightly try to do this with the camera in front of me, just to highlight the centerpiece up from the front to sort of the middle in the center of the lens, as like a line as such. like so. And then I'm going to use a bit of white. I'm going to revert to the smallest brush I've got at the present moment. I'm going to use a bit of white. Just in the center, just a line. If you can see this, guys. This is when the retarder kicks in, because it keeps your paint nice and wet and it doesn't dry out on your thinnest of paintbrushes. The only downside is with retarder, it just takes longer to dry. So when that's done, have a closer look. I need to create a shadow from the lens, the bottom of the lens, where the top of the helmet from the lens is as well. So it's going to be zoomed right in by here, underneath the eye. I need to create a shadow to distinguish from the lens from the helmet. And usually when I use when I do them as in green, I tend to use a green ink to do it. And since I haven't got any dark red, I'm going to try out some Vallejo Hull Red, which is like a brown. I'm going to see how this is going to be. So I'm just diluting it down at the moment with my smallest of my brushes. I'm going to slightly just dot from the back, slightly drag it forward very, very carefully, extremely carefully, because if I use like a black ink, it would have been too much of a contrast. And this is one of the parts which is quite the hardest, to be honest, because it's so easy for it to flow everywhere and not to get it right. So as you can see now, it looks a hell of a lot better. So the hardest part now as well is to highlight the edge where the helmet is, just below the eye line, because obviously that's where the hottest part or the brightest part of the glow is going to be. So once again, I'm going to mix up a bit of a pink wash, This is where a steady hand really needs to be involved by you guys. If you go in between the lens, don't worry, you can always go back over with the dark colour to create the depth which you require. I mean the depth, the dark recess areas of the lens. So guys, as you can see, I had to finish this off without my camera in the way because I couldn't see it. I had to be up close. So, you see the red glow effect off the lens to the helmet, and where you see I've done that dark wash just underneath the lens, just to give you that shadow effect of where the lens should be. And then what I've used my finest of brushes, and I just dabbed a little bit of white right in the corner of the lens, right there, and I touched up the front of the lens with a little bit of dab of white. If the contrast is a bit too harsh, well, I rectified a little bit. I just put a bit more blood red to the dark area, just give that a little bit of contrast a little bit better. And that's how I done the glowing eyes. Just remember, when you do the red glow, make sure you got it watered down a lot, and just build up the layers bit by bit. Thinner layers go down, and you build your layers further up towards the lens. And then obviously I highlighted the edge of the helmet where the lens sits underneath it with a white and red mix to make it brighter than everything else, and hopefully it should have pulled it off. So there you go guys. I hope that helps you out. So everyone, the tutorial is now over. I haven't put any transfers on this guy for a certain reason, only just because he's going to be stripped back down, and good old Bob by here is going to be transformed into a blood raven for the next tutorial. After this now, I will post a quick vid on a 360 view of him completely finished, and I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks everyone.